This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
On a cool and cloudy morning out here in the vast expanse of African wilderness, our two adorable year-old leopard cubs are full of the joys and playing non-stop. This is Safari Live.
Confirm you're going live.
No way! The big male baboon's chasing her. Remember, you are watching this live.
What did you see?
We've got to be quite careful with these guys.
Unfortunately, I think this is the end.
You have your fire!
Look at the nose!
There's a herd of zebra.
This is the most epic thing in the world, ever.
Good morning, or avusheni, as they say in the local language of Xitsonga. It is my great privilege and pleasure to welcome you on board once again as we explore this ancient landscape on the 6th of 8 live safaris brought to you from the southern reaches of the African continent. My name is James Hendry, and I'm going to be talking to you, as always, from this little tent. I'm not alone today. Simon, my good friend, is with me. Now, Simon, you're not very happy, are you? I'm mad as a dog. Simon, why are you mad as a dog? Them New England Patriots has beaten my Atlanta Falcons. I'm mad as a dog. Well, I'm sorry you're mad as a dog, Simon, but now it's safari time, so you're going to have to get over yourself. So stay over there while I talk to these good people. Hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter is the best and indeed only way to get hold of us, so please talk to us, and the first thing you can tell us is what you'd like to see on this drive. So that's hashtag safariLIVE. Let's have a little look at where we are in the world. We're at the northern parts of South Africa, that is the southern tip of the African continent, the western fringes of the great Kruger National Park. 8.5 million acres of contiguous wildlife wilderness wonderland. I have magicked myself back into the tent. Last week we had a spectacular time with Brent and the wild dogs. They were hunting and killing. We had Jamie with the royal family playing and then sleeping, and Steph was watching assassin-bugs mating. That was quite fun. Let's head straight across to Jamie, who's got yet more leopards.
Well, it seems to be a leopard morning. Here is a massive male leopard. His name is Tingana, and he's sitting on top of a large termite mound. Good morning and welcome to your own privately guided live safari. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I have my very good friend, incredible cameraman with his hard-working thumb, Brian Joubert, and this is very exciting. He is really hungry, and he's been moving through the bush, stopping on high ground, looking for potential prey. Now, I just heard he was in a fight last night with another male leopard, but looking at him, I would say he's the victor. He is the dominant male over about 8,000 or 9,000 acres, and he is the most likely father of those wonderful leopard cubs that are with Jamie at the moment. Remember, if you want to ask any questions, because it is live and we would love to hear from you, hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter. Now, I'm hoping, because it's a nice cool morning with clouds rolling in, that he is almost definitely going to carry on hunting. He's already unsuccessfully stalked Inyala. One must remember that only about 1 in 10 stalks result in a kill. So we've already seen him unsuccessfully stalk 3 times. So the odds of seeing him successful have got better as the morning's progressed. And hopefully he's going to move a little bit further to the west of us, around nearby where James is. And there's lots of bushbuck, Inyala and impala in that area, all which would make a fine meal for the king to the queen, Karula Tingana. Now, Tingana means the shy one. So when he initially moved into this area, he was a very shy male, and with careful driving and habituation, we've turned him into an incredibly relaxed, dominant male leopard, and he takes no notice of us as we follow him on his daily adventures. Now, from a leopard who's having a doze after unsuccessfully trying to jump onto a baby Inyala, let's go see what those his incredible progeny are up to.
And a very good morning to all of you, and welcome to the 6th installment of your live safari series. Indeed, with potentially the 2 cubs of that magnificent male leopard that you saw earlier. My name is Jamie, and this morning it is my privilege to have Wiem on camera with me, and we are sitting once again with the adorable Hosanna and Shongile, who just last week turned 1 year old on the 2nd of February. And the 2 of them are full of beans this morning, bouncing backwards and forwards. Hosanna has recovered from his sore leg that he had last week. He had a bit of a limp for about 3 days, and he is back up to the normal high-spirited nature of a leopard cub at 1 year old. So there he is, stalking once again towards the water, but he is unaware that his sister is right behind him. Watch out, Hosanna, she's going to get you. Yes. Watching the dynamics between these 2 has been absolutely incredible. The 2 of them cuddling together, playing, and also at the same time practicing all kinds of skills and techniques that will be essential when they grow up. Just look at them. Batting each other, biting each other. It seems as though quite frequently, despite his size, it seems as though Shongile gets the better of her brother Hosanna as she rolls on top of him, and occasionally practices the neck-biting technique that one day will make her a ferocious huntress, just like her mother Karula. Now, Karula has once again left these 2 up to their own devices. Always a risky business when you've got 2 teenage cubs. Look at that. Hosanna on the left, Shongile on the right. Both the same age, and you can really see the size difference between Hosanna and Shongile. Now remember, because this is a live safari, it means that you can ask any questions that you'd like to ask, and you can do that using the hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter. What are these 2 going to get up to while Mom is away? In the distance, I can hear the deep booming bark of baboons alarm calling. Now, a troop of baboons is potentially the worst enemy for these 2 leopard cubs, because at 1 year old, they're more than capable of dashing out of the reach of a hyena or a wild dog. They can easily climb up trees, but baboons, of course, can climb up trees as well. And baboons are essentially the arch nemesis of leopards out here, particularly a big male baboon with canines as big as that male leopard that you saw with Brent. And these 2 are wandering closer and closer towards them. I'm hoping that at 1 year old they have the sense to realize that they are potentially putting themselves in danger if they move too much further. Yes, you should be listening. There's a troop of baboons there. Shongile, I'm looking at you. You tend to have slightly more common sense from what we've seen. And the survival instinct is very strong with these leopard cubs. It has to be, because they have to be left on their own for extended periods of time. Their mom has to leave them to go out hunting, and now they just have to wait to see whether or not she's been successful. And there we go, our first question. Good evening to Cody. You want to know how high leopards can jump. Cody, they can jump up at least 3 meters, which is 9 feet, just over 9 feet vertically. They can jump very, very far, even further than that if it is a horizontal jump. Exceptionally powerful leapers. I've seen that male leopard that you saw with Brent. I've seen him easily leap up 9 feet when running away from a lioness, and he just missed the snap of her jaws by a whisker of a hair on his tail. They can spring up very, very powerfully. Look at him. He just looks like he's full of mischief. Stalking through the grass. While we wait to see what these 2 get up to, I'm sure you want to see what Steph is up to on foot. Let us go and find out.
Good morning, and welcome to the bushwalk. And yes, today is such an anticipation-filled day. For those of you who haven't met me yet in the previous 6 of these, or the previous 5 of these particular walks, my name is Stefan Winterboer. I'm a specialist trails guide, and you're on foot in exactly the same place that Brent and Jamie and all those leopard are. And isn't it just a wonderful thing? I must be honest with you, this morning I woke up with a sense of feeling this excitement. I don't quite know what it is. I've just got this compulsion to come into this area that we're in at the moment. Why? Because yesterday we had the African wild dog in this area. The second most endangered species of carnivore on the continent of Africa, the most endangered species of carnivore that we have in the Kruger National Park. And it's always special when you've got these animals inside the area that you have access to, especially on foot. Now, we've come into this area here wanting to basically just immerse ourselves into the bush. It's the best way to sit and listen. These predators run down their prey. They run incredible distances during the day. What I'm hoping to do is be in the area where we can hear the disturbance that they make to their prey. We can hear the impala, we can hear the kudu alarm calling. From there we can move into the area and hopefully, holding thumbs, we can either see them or we can call in the vehicles and they can show them to you from that vantage point. Now, don't forget, I am interactive, the same as what Brent and Jamie are, so please feel free to send through any comments you have, any questions you have, using that hashtag safariLIVE, and I'll try to get through as many that are relevant when we can. All right, but without further ado, why don't we go over to James in the tent?
Right, everybody, I have a nice quiz for you, and thank you all for telling us what you want to see. I'll get to that shortly. We're going to go under the microscope, and I want you to tell me what you think that is. Hashtag safariLIVE is the only way to do that. Now, Mona, you want to see elephants and wild dogs. Caitlin, you want to see leopards. Blake, you want to see elephants. Denise, you always go for leopards. Well, Caitlin and Denise, you'll be very happy. And Veronica, well, you're very fussy, aren't you? You want to see cheetahs and wild dogs. I'm not sure that's going to be possible, but we'll do our level best to find you both coursing predators out here. Hashtag safariLIVE, tell us what you think that was under the microscope. Now, we haven't got the dogs yet. Steph is looking for them, as is the tracking team. We had an incredible week with them, and so I'd like you to look and see what we saw with the dogs this week. Perhaps we find wild dogs so compelling because they display so many of the qualities that we value as human beings. They look after their sick and allow the young to feed first, and you can see the adults standing guard as the youngsters feed here. The adults will scan for scavengers and warn the pack of incoming danger. Now, this is especially important after a kill because the noise of feeding will attract thieves. Wild dogs are also playful, and while teasing a cantankerous old buffalo is a potentially dangerous occupation, especially when cooling mud is at stake, even the old bull seems to get the joke in the end. And like man's best friend, they love to swim and splash about in the mud. They even have a distinctive sort of wet dog smell to them, which is quite endearing. But danger is ever present out here, and sometimes the adults can do nothing to protect the puppies. Flight was the only possible option here. This pup was pinned against a thorn bush with a lioness almost 10 times the size. There was only one possible outcome. A more savage and heart-rending scene is very difficult to imagine. It would have been suicidal in this case for the adults to engage the huge cat. In the face of a snarling, hissing threat like this, running for your life is the single and only recourse. Now, it's tempting to be angry with the lions here, but they are doing what they have done for millennia. Their behavior is just one part of a multitude of variables that maintain the delicate dynamic equilibrium of the wild out here. It was really harrowing to see, but it's just what happens out here. And the predators do kill each other quite a lot. Of course, they compete with each other, and we think that's probably why it is that they have a go at each other all the time. Difficult to say. We'll have one last look at the microscope quickly, and you can see what it is that I want to find out from you. Hashtag safariLIVE is how you tell us what is going on there. Good. Marvellous. Let's head straight back to the Prince Consort as he rests on his termite mound.
Well, he's heard something to the west of him. You can see his head's up. He's staring into the distance. And as I said, when we see him stand up, you'll see how hungry he is. His belly's quite concave. Now, as I was saying, there's a lot of potential prey up ahead. This area has got a lot of inyala, a lot of impala, and even some bushbuck around the little river systems, all of which are really good potential food for a big male leopard like this. I mean, he weighs about 200 pounds, and he's able to lift his own body weight 20 feet into a tree. Now, I said he's potentially, or the most likely candidate to be the father of Hosana and Shongile. Karula's territory is completely encompassed by him. Well, a very good morning to Dr. Sid, who would like to know whether are leopards really solitary cats? More solitary than lions, that's for sure. 90% of the time they do spend on their own, and that's not to say they don't have interactions with each other. A female leopard, while she has offspring, is not solitary, and male leopards will spend time with the different females in their area and the cubs, but only a very short time before they move off. Now, they've got to continuously march around, scent marking and keeping their territory safe from other males. As I said, he apparently beat up another male last night to the east of us, and now he's already seen off that would-be challenger, and he's now marching through. As he hunts, he scent marks, and those scent marks are little chemical road signs or warning signs for other leopards in the area. Now, leopards have a Jacobson's organ, which is redundant in human beings. It's that little hole on the top of your palate if you go. And what will happen is if they smell the urine of another leopard, they'll take that scent across that organ, and it will pick up different markers there. It means that the male could be picking up another male, a threat. He could check if a female's in estrus and ready for mating. So it's one of the ways leopards communicate. They also do communicate verbally by sawing, and that's their big territorial call. So he's definitely interested in something that's to the west of us, but he's not moving just yet. Leopards are incredibly patient, but they can go from this absolutely dead still to pure speed and adrenaline in a split second. So while we wait to see what happens next, Steph has got one of the more elegant creatures in the African bush.
Isn't it exciting to just wait and see what these leopard are want to do? I'll tell you, they could do almost anything. Jump up and run away, kill a giraffe, anything that you can think of that is impossible, leopard can do. And this little creature is an elegant grasshopper, exactly the same as what Brent predicted over there. But before I go into exactly why it's an elegant grasshopper, I just want to remind you that we are coming to you from the middle of the Kruger National Park, one of the largest of the unspoiled wilderness areas in the world, and we're coming to you live, meaning what's happening right now is what you're seeing, no post-editing or anything like that, literally as live as what it can be. From time to time, that does mean that we're going to get a few rainbow colors across the screen. You might get a little bit of pixelation. Our voices might seem a little bit disjointed. It's just the nature of this particular way of producing a show like we do. So don't go anywhere. It doesn't mean that it won't be back, and usually it fixes itself very, very quickly. Now, why is this grasshopper colored so brightly? And also, if you have a look really closely, it has hardly got any wings, so it can't fly at all. So these are the wing buds right here, and they're virtually basically just redundant. This grasshopper doesn't need to fly around, doesn't need to be camouflaged, mainly because it is very, very toxic. This grasshopper, if I were to put it into my mouth, or an animal were to put it into my mouth, is poisonous enough to actually kill me. Can you believe it? Quite a few animals have been found dead, mostly domesticated animals, ones that have lost their natural fear of the bush to these particular grasshoppers. This one here, if you ate it, is every bit as dangerous as eating, I don't know, any poisonous thing really, or being bitten by a snake out here, for that matter being stood on by an elephant. Isn't it just amazing? Now, those colorations are called aposomatic colorations. It means that this is the warning colors. You see the black, the yellow, the red, that is what we do. Now, these things are not good bush food whatsoever. They do not make for good meals, and so although there are grasshoppers out here that you could use for food, this isn't one of them that you do, and this is about as full grown as what they get. Lovely, hey? Now, you are going to be going away for a break. Please don't go anywhere. We've still got hunting leopards, we've got Jamie with leopards, and I'm on looking for those wild dog. Now, I tell you, today the flies are absolutely out in force. Must be honest with you, both Jandra and I are covered with at least 50 or 60 flies each at the moment. It's crazy. But we are in that area where those wild dog were last seen yesterday, and we were on foot with wild dog yesterday. It was only the third time in my whole career that I was on foot with wild dog. It happened yesterday. We were busy looking at a spider, and next thing, pop, out of the bush popped a wild dog. It was really, really awesome. And then the rest of the pack came out. They looked at us for a little bit, circled around us and carried on with their hunting. And they were hunting in this area. Now Taylor and the rest of the trackers are on their tracks. They found a few tracks. They were from yesterday afternoon, and they're busy doing loops around this place from here all the way to Buffelshoek Dam. So with all those mouths to feed, of course, difficult to put enough food on the table, really, and it's taking those adult dogs. A lot of hunting. I don't know if you've kept tabs on exactly how many scrub hare that these wild dog have managed to kill over the last couple of days, but I think they've managed to decimate the scrub hare population here at Djuma quite substantially. I think every 5 minutes they were killing a scrub hare at a point. Now, I'm hoping that what we do is actually just hear. I don't expect to walk into these wild dogs today unless we're very, very lucky. But what I am expecting to do, and being in this area, is hearing the disturbance that they create here in the bush. They create a lot of disturbance. They're bombshell animals. You get these frightened groups of animals running this way and that way. Lots of barking of kudu, nyala, bushbuck, impala. Even to some degrees, they'll even start to bombshell out giraffe populations. Now, I'm not expecting too much in this particular area. This is an area that is not very popular with the general game. You can see this type of grass is not very palatable. This is cat's tail grass, not the most palatable grass. You can see long lignified stalk, no real seeds to eat, and then a tiny curled up serrated leaf over there. Not the most tasty thing, but this is a very good area on the fringes of it for nyala and kudu. You can see this green line of bush that we're walking into at the moment. That is a brilliant area for a lot of nyala herds. Now, nyala and bushbuck, in my experience, are what wild dog almost always just targets. They love him. They love the nyala. They love the bushbuck. They're very good at hunting the drainage lines, crisscrossing from one side of a drainage line to another, and chasing and flushing out these nyala and catching them. And that's basically what I'm hoping to hear, is this disturbance. Now, why don't we send you over to James? And I'm not quite sure what he's getting up to into his tent, but I'm sure it's interesting.
I'm just setting something up in here, everybody, for when we get back to TV. Because I can't remember all of the things that people have guessed is under the microscope. One of you has got it completely correct. I don't know if you're a regular viewer or not, but it's astoundingly accurate. Sorry, David, give me that grasshopper back if you'd like to. I found a grasshopper. It's my new friend. I just want him to sit there for long enough for us to come back to TV. No, he's not going to. He's going to go, I think. How long have we got, Kirsten? 40 seconds. You think I can catch him in 40 seconds? No, it didn't go under the chair, Kirsten. It's under my hand. Okay. "20 seconds, 20. Sorry, it was 10 seconds now. They are sometimes edible. Hashtag safariLIVE, get hold of us, please. Welcome back to your live safari, the 6th of 8, from the wilderness that is the great Kruger National Park. Hashtag safariLIVE, as I was saying there, is the best and only way to get hold of us. Be lovely to talk to you. There are leopards all over the place. Steph's out on foot, and we're now going to have my microscope quiz answers. Let's go back to the microscope so you can see what I looked at. Now, Zach Ryder fan, you said, is this a tooth of a leopard or lion? Oh, no, it is not. Brian, you said, is it a thorn? I'm afraid not. Someone called Djuma Dave said a porcupine quill, negative. Safari Dean, eagle cork, the catalyst. You said a hair under the microscope, a no. But Lisa, you are clearly a safari genius. You said that this is the beak of a hornbill, and that's exactly what it is. Many of you know of the Zazu bird from the Lion King, and Izazu, interestingly, means he of the wise, or the wise man, and you can see that this hornbill probably wasn't very wise, given that his eye was bigger than his brain. Marvellous. So that's what it was. Well done, Lisa. That's an exceptional job. And how you managed to do that, I definitely wouldn't have got that from just what I showed you under the microscope. So well done for that. Now, we did spend a long time, as always, with the royal family this week. So let's take a look at what they got up to. It was a chilly morning when we found Hosanna luxuriating in a rhino midden. But spending time with these cubs is heartwarming, but it comes with a price because we've become attached to their character-filled antics, and seeing the little prince with a limp like this was worrying, especially as genuine danger arrived presently. Hosanna had no choice but to scale a viciously thorny knobthorn tree with his gammy leg. Now, a hyena will kill a young leopard if it can in order to reduce competition, as we saw there with the wild dogs and the lions. Hosanna waited out the scavenger, who eventually went in search of easier prey. Now, after the painful descent, new dangers arrived in the evening. His father, Tingana, found their scent on the rhino midden, and we don't know if he would have harmed the cubs, but it's quite possible, and he spent quite a lot of time marking his territory around the area. You can see him there sawing away. That's a territorial call that they do. Luckily, the next morning, however, the sun came out and Hosanna's leg seemed to have healed, and he was up for more fun and games. I'm not sure what the terrapin thought of the experience. I don't think he probably thought of it in a particularly fond light, but there we go. So Hosanna, as you've seen right now, is absolutely fine, which is brilliant news indeed. Let's head straight back across to Brent. He is with Tingana, and I think the leopard might have moved.
He's on the move. He's come down the termite mound. He is moving in that direction. We've been seeing him look for the last while. As I said, this is a very good area for a whole host of different antelope species. Now look just in front of his back legs. You can see how sunken in his belly is. You can see he's very, very hungry. Now, of course, chasing rival males around is enough to build up an appetite. Now, if you look carefully at his neck, you can see that massive flap of skin hanging down from his jowls. It's called a dewlap, and you're not going to see that in young male leopards or in female leopards. The males have this massive thick necks, and the reason they do have that is because they have to fight for their territory. So that big jowl helps protect them when they're in a battle with other big leopards. Now, I don't want to disturb his hunt, so I'm very careful not to drive directly behind him, and I want to see if I can see what's up ahead. So we just check. Morning, Ryan. Ryan would like to know, what does the daily diet of a leopard consist of? Now, Ryan, it all depends on what he can catch. And he's after small to medium-sized antelope. He's capable of taking down big prey like a kudu, but he runs the risk of losing bigger prey to animals like hyenas and lions and even wild dogs. So if he needs to catch something that he's able to carry up a tree where it can be safely protected from other scavengers. Okay, so as I said, we're trying to keep not directly behind him. We're driving parallel to him to give him the best chance possible. We're out here to observe nature, not to interfere with it. He's heading towards a little gully, and There were a lot of Inyala and Impala around there yesterday, so I wonder if they've stayed in that area overnight. Now, as he moves through this area, I said he's going to be constantly scent marking, and every big tree or bush that looks like it should be a good spot to leave a bit of scent where another leopard might come, like that big marula tree he's next to at the moment, is an ideal spot. So we're going to see as he walks past it, he should sort of just give a little spray of urine, and you can see there's another safari vehicle also enjoying this magnificent male leopard with us as he moves through the bush. Look there, he is beautiful, and you can see he's got some scars on his nose, and that's not uncommon with all the big cats out here. They do have to fight tooth and nail to hold on to their territory, and they never really hold on to it for too long. Leopards normally take their territory from about the age of 6 and will hold it. Oh, there we go. Wait, is he going to do it? Tip, tip. There we go. A little spray of urine. And that's all he needs to mark that. The leopard's sense of smell is so developed that another leopard will pick up on that easily. And the most wonderful thing about leopard urine, because out in the African bush, lots of things are very, very smelly and not very nice smelling. But leopard urine smells like buttered popcorn. So it is a very nice smell in comparison to some of the other smells we get out here. Now, Victoria, who's 9 years old, would like to know, how high can a leopard carry its prey in a tree? Well, Victoria, it depends on how big the tree is. I've seen them probably over 50 foot, 60 foot up in a tree, but normally they keep it around 20 foot from the ground. Okay, we now need to keep up with them. Now, with this long grass around here, a leopard can disappear in a split second, so we want to make sure we don't lose him. While we do that, Steph's going to show you what a leopard leaves behind when it walks away.
Not just any track, this is Tingana's track. This happened last night, and this is his track. And how I know that is leopard are very, very specific. They have fingerprints and footprints, very similar to the way we have fingerprints and footprints. I just want to run through Tingana's track with you over here. But while I do it, leopard are just some of the most formidable hunters that we have over here. They are easily some of the most successful predators, not in terms of how often they kill, but in terms of their adaptability. And that is what makes a hunter successful out here, is how you can adapt to your environment. And that is very, very important. Lion do it very well, leopard do it very well, cheetah and wild dog do not do it very well. Even though they kill easier, they have a better success rate, for lack of a better word. Anyway, have a look here at this particular track. This is Tingana's track. This over here is his back track. That's his back foot, and this is his front foot. And how to tell the difference between left and right is as easy as putting your forefingers in his track. So you do this with your hand. You can try this with your dog at home as well, by the way. You don't have to just do it with leopard tracks. You can try this. As you can see there, these don't really fit. This baby finger of mine doesn't fit the track. But if I take my right hand and I put it in, all of a sudden my fingers fit the holes in the track. Can you see that? There's his toes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is his back right foot. And this over here would then be his back left foot. All right? And inside this track will be cracks and fissures of his just life. It's a story of his life. And that will be how we identify this track. This is a full-grown male leopard track. Tingana is the dominant male in this area. This is his track. Isn't that awesome to see? And he was here literally last night, walking at the same level I am. Nice. All right, we're going to send you over to James in the tent.
Right, everybody, we're going to take to the air now because the biggest animal has been spotted by Drone Commander Connor Teagues. there he is, a massive, massive elephant bull. And Connor was just flying around doing maneuvers, and there he spotted this great bull. Now, I'm not sure exactly where he is. He's actually very close to us, come to think of it. And in fact, he's not far from Brent. I can see pretty much where he is now. Yep, he's not far from Brent. Tingana is in that block there, somewhere around. Now, obviously, the leopard is not going to take on the elephant, but elephants are completely intolerant of predators, and so even if the leopard came across the elephant, he would be very unimpressed, and the elephant would probably almost certainly chase Tingana. We don't know that elephant as well, obviously. We're just going to go outside now, because they do move around huge distances, so I'm not sure if we've seen him before, and that, of course, is the wonderful nature of what we do here. 8.5 million acres of wildlife land, and we don't know what is going to come and what is going to go. Right, this is my great map. Of course, the cartography that we do here on Safari Live, especially with me at its helm, is spectacularly good. Right, here we have Brent. That's round about where he is. I'm just going to quickly draw in the elephant as well. There's the elephant. Do you see it, David?
Oh, yes.
They've got very thick legs like that. Yes, very nice. And Tingana knocking about in here, hunting as well. There he is. He's a big fellow, isn't he? He's the prince consort, of course, and the father of our two little cubs. Now, as we head south, we've got Steph over there with Tingana's tracks. So he's moved a huge distance all the way up there. That's probably a distance of about 4 miles sometime during the course of the night. Now, I'm quite pleased that he's moved away because the little cubs are round about here. There they are. And there's a bit of a wind blowing coming in from the southeast, you can see. That's where they are knocking about. They're playing around in some water, and there's also some water over here. This is where you saw them sort of having a swim. I'm also glad they're not at that dam, because there was a crocodile there 2 days ago that seemed to want to eat one of them. Zach, you're wondering what the lifespan of an elephant is. Hopefully we'll see it again, Zach. The lifespan of an elephant is probably about 65 years in this area. So they are definitely the longest-lived animals out here. Now then, down from there, towards the dam here is Jamie. She is looking at a whole lot of hippopotamus, so let's go and find out what they look like, well, live.
They look at the moment like ears and eyes just sticking out of the top of the surface of this dam. And we've got two young hippo sparring with each other enthusiastically right in the center. And of course, as I said that, they both went underwater, because that, of course, is what happens when you film live wildlife. Now, for those of you that have just joined us, we are on a live safari from the heart of the greater Kruger National Park area. My name is Jamie, and earlier on, I was with those two barreling leopard cubs that were playing together. Unfortunately, they gave us the slip and disappeared off into some long grass, so we've left them for now, and we've come through to see how the baby hippopotamus from last week is doing. I'm trying to see if I can't spot it. I suspect that it is with its mother on the opposite side of this waterhole, but let's take a quick breath. And there, these two young ones, there they are playing together. You can see that they're young, but you can already see the development of those sharp ivory tusks in their mouths. Don't forget that on this live safari, it means that you can send through any questions that you'd like to ask, and you can do that using the hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter. Look at the two of them, two rambunctious young boys playing with each other. Absolutely extraordinary. Now, of course, one of the things that we've asked you to do over the last few weeks is to send through a one-word tweet as to how exactly something makes you feel or what you think about something. And we'd like to encourage you all to send through a one-word tweet about how you feel about hippopotamus. What is the one word that you feel sums them up perfectly? Those of you who were watching last week would have seen that adorable little baby. And of course, we've got this group here clustered together, the Chitwa pod, looking somewhat sinister. We're going to be taking a short break, but don't go anywhere. Tingana might catch his breakfast. We might have our leopard cubs. Stay tuned to find out. And for those of you watching on the internet, you don't have to miss a moment. Unfortunately, Shongile and Hosanna decided to go onto Little Gowrie. We will hopefully have them back once again towards the end of this live safari. And in the meantime, we've got these two hippo to keep us thoroughly entertained. It seems as though, it's right at the back of that dam over there. I think that's where Mom is hiding her baby. We've had such a treat with her this last week, watching the little one bob about and learn how to cope with its aquatic environment. I see lots of hippo at the back there. Any babies? No, that looks like an adult. And a little bit to the... Oh, no, that's another adult. And somebody breathing out a steady stream of air there. Either that or they've installed a jacuzzi in the Chitwa Dam, which I doubt it. The hippo thought I was funny. Look at these two. They're very evenly matched. And earlier on, they both tried to open their mouths as wide as possible, and they were both exactly matched up. So they had top lip against top lip and bottom lip against bottom lip. It was hilarious, and they sort of got stuck there. Neither of them wanted to give in. Well, no wonder Mom has taken her little one off somewhere slightly. Surprise! A very large crocodile that I didn't initially spot sitting on the side of the sandbank, presumably waiting, hopefully much like us, for the sun to break through the clouds and to warm up the morning ever so slightly. Now that's sinister. That is more sinister than hippopotamus. Ah, there you are. Been hearing them calling all morning. There's our troop of baboons, or at least I say a troop of baboons. A single baboon. I don't see any more of them. I haven't seen a single other baboon. I don't quite know what this chap is doing all on his own. Or her own. I don't know where the rest of them are. I heard the rest of them calling from a little bit further to the west of where we are. I don't think that is the rest of them are here. I think that one's just got lost. Oh, and our fish eagle. That's all happening here at Chitwa Dam. This is why we love coming here. It's a headless fish eagle. Oh, there it is. Popped up. Having an early morning grooming session. There's usually two of them around. I can only see one this morning. Okay. I was so hoping we'd be able to show you the baby hippo again. It's utterly adorable, and they don't stay that cute for that long. Oh, these two still playing around. I feel as though every single time I come to Chitwa Dam, these two are relentlessly scuffling with each other. It's endless. I don't think I've ever been to this waterhole without seeing these two fighting. There's usually three of them, actually, involved in the display of strength, quite juvenile, adolescent display of strength. Oh, hello. Bubbles popping everywhere. And I suppose at some point in their later life, all of these struggles will have been useful for when it comes time to fight for space or potentially fight over females. They'll at least have done some practicing. There's the baby. Here's the little baby. It's in there. It's in that collection of hippo round in the corner. It's just on Mom's back. Here goes the baboon running past. That swagger. Are you lost by any chance? You're certainly giving off the impression that you are. Careful. Just because we can see one croc doesn't mean there aren't more. Off he goes. There's that baby. That baby hippo's definitely there. I keep seeing its head pop up every now and again. There we go. Hello, little head. And the two of them sparring. And welcome back on your live safari adventure here from the world-famous Greater Kruger National Park, famous for sightings of all kinds of things, from big cats like that leopard that you saw with Brent to elephants like the one I think Steph is searching for on foot, and, of course, hippopotamus. And earlier on we spoke about the Djuma pod at this particular waterhole. It's called the Djuma Waterhole, and we've got a pod of hippopotamus that are all gathered together. Now, earlier on, I asked you for a one-word tweet that would describe perhaps what to you is sort of the most defining feature of a hippo, what you think of when you think of a hippopotamus. Christina, you say powerful, and absolutely they are exceptionally powerful, actually potentially exceptionally dangerous. So powerful is a good word. Even the adolescents that have been playing around and splashing at the back, I promise that they're there. They'll pop up every now and again. There we go. Just saw a rolling back in their aquatic life. They're busy playing with each other, trying to push each other down, knock each other around. Now, while we watched them do this, and we were searching for that baby hippo as well, Donna, you want to know if it is true that that hippopotamus cannot swim. Donna, it is absolutely true. So if you were to put a hippo in something so deep that they couldn't really reach the bottom, they couldn't doggy paddle. They have to push themselves off the bottom of whatever waterhole they are in, which actually serves a very important function in terms of keeping waterways clear. So yes, you are right. As bizarre as it sounds, a hippo cannot swim. There is another animal that can swim though, and that at the moment is attempting to bask on the side of the sandbank. Just look at this massive creature. Reptilian, slow, and cold this morning. There you go. Oh, this crocodile at the moment is relatively inactive. It's a chilly morning, and in fact we even have our roof on in case it starts to pour with rain. Lisa, you want to know whether or not a crocodile would ever attack a hippopotamus. And I'm going to turn that around and put that question to all of you. Do you think a crocodile as large as this one, and I would say that that crocodile is easily 9 feet long, big, heavy, very solid, and decades old, do you think that a crocodile would be able to attack a solitary hippo? Would there be any chance? Who do you think would survive in that kind of encounter? You can send that through on hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter, and we'll give you that answer, or what we believe, a little bit later. Now, the baby hippo is sequestered all the way on the opposite side of the waterhole. There we go. We can just see heads popping up. Now, last week, Brent saw it when it was just a few hours old. And this week, we've had a chance to see it bob up every now and again. And if you look closely, you might just see it. I'm hoping you're going to see it. Of course, it can't swim either, but it's too tiny to reach down to the bottom of the waterhole, so it actually has to rest on Mum's back and use her as a support system. So it stays close the entire time, in a very comfortable way. Now, while we sit comfortably at this waterhole to find out what these hippos do next, I know that James has a very close friend whose eyes are very close to the ground. Let's go and find out what's happening there.
I'll explain that a little bit later, everybody. For now, let us go to Ronald's mongoose eye view of the world. There he is. He's unfortunately not made any friends this morning. There were a few, there are some terrapins. They're coming to say hello. And for those of you who haven't been watching, and if you haven't, well, shame on you. They are freshwater turtles. I didn't mean that to sound quite as nasty as it did. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, Ronald is going to go backwards slightly and then forwards again because we quite like the framing there. Ooh, hang on. Bottom left of your screen there, very nice. A golden piece of Egyptian goose dung. Excellent. Okay, good. So hopefully he will make a friend today. Now, around about where we were looking a little while back in the water, we found an astounding little animal the other day, and I'm going to show him to you now. He is called a backswimmer. It could be a she, but this remarkable creature, who is not swimming right now, uses those great big back legs as an oar, and then he's got a groove down the front of, or down the back, sorry, of the abdomen there. There's a groove. There's also a little worm knocking about behind him. Don't worry about that. That groove on the abdomen there is where he stores the air that he breathes. So he comes to the surface, absorbs a little bubble of air, and it goes into that groove, and then it diffuses into the spiracles, which is how an insect like this lives. The most remarkable thing, however, is that when he's in the water, he is upside down. This is how he lives, upside down. I'm going to give him a little bit of a shake to hope that he might go for a bit of a swim. He is very much alive. He is a voracious predator of things like tadpoles. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later too, because I've discovered why my tadpoles are disappearing. And also, he can fly. They don't fly under the water, but if the water dries out or he's attacked by some kind of a predator, well, then he'll just turn around, flip over, and fly to another bit of water. Isn't that amazing? I think that is just fantastic. Now, Steph is apparently very itchy at the moment, and he'd like to show you how to scratch.
I will show you how this works, but first, listening to James telling you about that water strider got me thinking about how I could show you something about something big that also enjoys these muddy pools that are encountered in the bush. This is a rubbing post that elephant, warthog, rhinoceros would use to scratch themselves after they've been for a mud bath. And as you can see from the mud all over this tree, it's a very popular one. This would be at about rhinoceros height, their bellies, and what they do is they'd walk past and they'd give themselves a big scratch on their belly, sometimes using their head to scratch their necks on the side of their necks. But just look how high the mud extends up this tree, all the way to where an elephant would be. So there's the last mud there, and that is basically where the neck of an elephant is. Just to give you an idea of how big these animals actually are. The end of the stick is where his neck would be. They would be able to raise their head probably about that high. So when an elephant is a really big male elephant, has his head up, held up high with his ears out, he'd probably be able to reach to about here. Isn't that incredible? I'm 6 foot tall, just to give you an idea of some scale. And this would be where that elephant scratched his head. Done roughly the same thing as the rhino would do. They put their head on the side of the tree, they move their head up and down to scratch their neck, particularly behind the ears. Then they quite often would get their bums up on the tree and they'd scratch their bums, and that's exactly what's happened over here with a rhinoceros. Got the bum up on the tree, and scratching themselves on basically scratching off ticks and things. Now you would have noticed a little bit of breakup on the picture as we were doing that. That's just because we've probably got a tree between us and one of the receiving points for the signal. Don't forget, we're live coming to you out of the African bush over here, middle of the Kruger National Park, one of the last and largest of all the wilderness areas left in the world. Now quite often you can pick up things in the mud over here. If we're lucky, there we go, there's some hair. But if we're lucky, what we can do is find some ticks and things, some parasites that have been rubbed off with the mud. Now, not so much that I've seen in terms of elephant, but definitely in terms of rhinoceros and absolutely with warthog. They have a lot of parasites on their skin, and this mud serves to cake that skin, and as they come and rub it off, it'll pull the parasites off as well. This doesn't seem to have any. This is a marula tree. It's a male marula tree because it doesn't have any fruits on it. It's quite amazing that it's still actually standing over here. Let me go show you exactly what this wallow looks like. This is the wallow that the mud came from. Have a look over there. That's where it is down there. And all that grey stuff that you see right next to it, that's all mud. Now on that muddy note, why don't we send you over to Brent, to that male leopard.
Well, he's found another big termite mound to rest on. So even though his eyes are closed, And watch his ears. He's still listening for any potential. Oh, he's having a face scratch on the termite mound. So he is definitely still on the hunt. This is very normal leopard behavior as they move from termite mound to termite mound. They are very patient, sits, listens, probably move on again just now. He's slowly making his way towards this low-lying area around here. James is actually just over there. And that area, as we said, is full of lots of different types of antelope. So he's probably listening. There were some baboons I heard a bit earlier. Now, he will want to avoid the baboons, not only because they're dangerous, but also because they'll tell all the other animals that he's here. So if a baboon spots a leopard, it's going to do an alarm call, and they'll go up into the trees and they'll shout, "Leopard! Leopard!" And the other baboon will go, "Where?" And that baboon will go, "There!" And also all the impala and nyala and bushbuck, they'll be on high alert. So he's probably just waiting for that troop of baboons to move through the area before he tries to go see if he can get a meal out of there. Now, we're getting a huge amount of questions, which is absolutely wonderful, and I can't wait to answer as many as possible and maybe hopefully teach you something a little about the leopard. So there he is atop his termite area. Now, Jennifer would like to know, can leopards see in color? No, Jennifer, they don't. They see in sort of various shades of grey and black and white. Well, it's not real true black and white. It's grey, and the reason they have that colour, like the vision like that, is because they can operate in the dark. Now, with colour vision, you will lose that ability to operate in the dark. Daisy would like to know whether leopards have better or worse night vision than lions. Daisy, I would say probably almost exactly the same, or as they say in Swahili, kamquaida, same difference. Oh, you heard something? Heads up. What did you hear, big boy? Leopard sprint, and for how long? Now, leopards are very much ambush predators, so they burst from very short distances to catch their prey. And a big male leopard like this is capable of up to about 24 meters per second, but he only does it for a very short time, from about 5 meters. The closer a leopard can get to its potential prey, the better chance they have of catching it. So he's not going to sprint for a long distance unless he's being chased by something like a lion. Marianne is wondering, is a leopard's tail so long for a reason? Indeed it is. With animals like leopards and cheetahs, the tail does help with a bit of balance. And there's other reasons for that tail to be there. That wonderful white fluffy tip is so when they are young, they can follow their mothers through the bush. Now, doesn't he look quite comfortable? He said, well, it's been a tough weekend. I'm just going to rest my head on that termite mound. Savannah would like to know, what is the average male leopard territory, or the average area? Now, Savannah, it completely depends on the area. Where we are up here in the north of the Sabi Sands on Djuma, your average male leopard territory is about 10,000 to 12,000 acres, and that's just due to the country. Now, in areas where you've got major rivers, say the Zambezi River or the Sabi River, the leopard male territories there will only be around 3,000 or 4,000 acres, and that's because the congregation of game along those big rivers, whereas here they have to walk a little bit further to find all the food they need. A very sleepy kitty. Now, remember, if you want to get one of your questions through, and I'd love you to do that, hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter will get your question through to us. Yeah, well, we're going to wait patiently, because patience is the most important weapon in your arsenal to see the killer sightings. We're going to go across to Jamie so she can tell you who is going to win between a crocodile and a hippo.
Brent has been telling you that patience is a virtue, and that, of course, is something that this massive Nile crocodile knows well. There, look, finally, patience has paid off for us as well, as the two hippo battle it out. We've been waiting for them to do this. Now, Zachary and Douglas, while these two young boys give us an impressive display of their ivory, you say that in a confrontation between a crocodile and a hippopotamus, the hippopotamus would win every time. And you are absolutely correct. A healthy adult hippopotamus will be able to take on a single croc every single time. Look at those sharp spikes of ivory sticking out of their jaw, the massive gape of their mouths. A crocodile is simply no match for them. A baby hippopotamus, potentially, but remember how I mentioned the fact that the baby hippos have to stay right next to mum all the time. So the chance of a crocodile getting a baby hippo on its own is relatively slim. My name is Jamie, and you are on a live safari from the very cloudy greater Kruger National Park. I'm sorry, there is a very angry elephant trumpeting away somewhere to the south of me. We're going to go and have a look there in a moment. But we've been talking about hippo versus a crocodile. There are very, very few, and I mean really rare, recorded cases where a group of crocodiles have attacked a lone and injured and sick hippo. That's probably the only situation where a crocodile would win out, even a massive specimen like this one. At least 9 feet from the tip of his nose to the tip of his tail, or her nose. The females can grow just as large as the males, and as I said, prehistoric in his looks. And on this cool morning, it's just waiting for the sun to pop out from behind the clouds to hopefully inject it with a little bit of energy. And crocodiles can control their internal body temperatures to an extent, but they are still ectotherms and they're still reliant on the external temperatures around them. They're truly fascinating, unchanged for thousands and thousands of years in terms of their design. It doesn't seem, though, as our Nile crocodile is likely to go and pick a fight with these hippo. Kelly, you want to know, while we look at our hippo croc scene in front of us, you want to know how many crocodiles there are in this waterhole. The truth is, Kelly, it is impossible for us to ever know. Crocodile move about. There's one that's walked all the way from somewhere around here to a waterhole where we haven't seen a croc in the last year and a half, and all of a sudden it is there. When you see one crocodile, there's a good chance there is another one around. We know of this particular large specimen and at least 2 others that are not quite as big but almost as large, and there could be a variety of medium-sized crocodiles in between. They do get up and they do move in between waterholes, so never ever, if you come and visit the African bush anywhere in Africa, please do not go swimming in muddy waterholes, because you just never know what might be inhabiting them. The last thing you want to meet is a crocodile. Actually, the last thing you want to meet is a hippopotamus. They, of course, are responsible, in theory, for more deaths than any other animal in Africa, more human deaths. I'm sure you're all curious to know, as am I, as to why James has now found himself prostrate on the ground. Let's go and find out.
I am indeed lying on the ground, everybody, because that's just a wonderful thing to do in amongst the summer grass. If you have just joined us, you are on a live safari, the 6th of 8, and we've got 2 more after this, obviously. That's 6 plus 2 is 8. Yes, indeed. My name is James Henry. You've just been with Jamie. Brent is with a leopard, and Steph is out on foot looking for things. #safariLIVE is the best possible way to get hold of us. Now, in fact, it's the only way to get hold of us. That's on Twitter. Now, we are actually not just lying here for the sake of being lazy. There is an astounding little spider here. So if you'd like to know anything about the spider, #safariLIVE is how you can ask us, or you can ask us about any of the other wonderful creatures we've been seeing today. Isn't he special? Okay, we're going to play a game now. Well, sorry, we're going to play a game after we've shown you where we are in the world. We're going to go down, zooming in towards where Jamie is, and that is on Chitwa. So you can see we're at the southern tip of Africa. We're at the northeast corner of South Africa, the western fringes of the great Kruger National Park. And that's where Chitwa is, and that's where Jamie is sitting with those beautiful hippopotamus right now. Okay, well, now we're going to play a game. It's the same game that we've played every week, you and I. This time, we're not going to include Simon because the last time we played it, he said a bad word, and so he's been banished from playing this game, so I'm going to play it with you. And the game works as follows. I'm going to say 3 things to you. One of the things that I'm going to say to you is not true. Indeed, it is a complete and foul and contemptible untruth. You must spot which one of the following 3 statements that is, and then tell us. #SafariLIVE, answer 1, answer 2, or answer 3. So whichever statement is incorrect, you #SafariLIVE and write answer 1, answer 2, or answer 3. David, are you ready?
Yes.
I just need to mentally prepare myself. Okay, I've done it. Statement 1. There are more than 500 species of bird to be found in the Kruger National Park. Statement 2. The Kruger National Park contains the largest number of wild dogs of any other protected area on planet Earth. Statement number 3. The Kruger National Park, answer 1, answer 2, answer 3, #SafariLIVE. That's how you tell us which one was absolute nonsense. Right, let's head straight across to Brent Leo Smith, who's not too far from me, over the back of my shoulder. I hope Tingana's not stalking me. Let's go and find out.
Well, James, you're safe for now, but I'll let you know if he comes any closer. Now, he's still sitting on top of the termite mound. He's a bit more awake than he was a little while ago. And we've just repositioned, and we are basically sitting almost eye level with one of the dominant predators in the bush. And as you can see, he takes absolutely no notice of us. And it takes a bit of time and hard work to habituate these animals to be like this. But we are so incredibly privileged to be able to sit this close to this incredibly beautiful big cat. Now, he's about 9-10 years old, so he's in his prime. He's probably got another couple of years at the top. Now, the reason that a lot of the cats don't have too long a period at the top of the food chain is because if they were, when their daughters would grow up, they would end up starting to mate with their daughters, and that could cause a problem for inbreeding in the population. So that's why he's only got a few years at the top before the next young up-and-coming male comes in and takes over. Now, Tingana is quite an interesting leopard in terms of his history, because we don't actually know where he came from. So with a lot of the other leopards, male and female, that we see in this area, we know who their mothers were. They might have come from another part of the reserve. Tingana sort of just appeared out of nowhere like a ghost, and it's so great. And that probably means he could have come from very far. The leopard males have been recorded dispersing for up to 200 miles from where they were born. So it's amazing how nature makes sure... Oh, big yawn, half yawn. Oh, not going to show us your teeth just yet. So it makes sure that they don't interbreed with their daughters and mothers and cousins. Oh, you see those canines? Beautiful. Beautiful ivory there. Oh, what's he heard? Now, he's definitely a lot more alert. The temperature's dropped a little bit, so the cool weather is better for him to hunt in. Now, Brendan is wondering how long a leopard's claws are. Brendan, they're probably about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. Now, they do break, but they can grow back, and hopefully we'll see them cleaning them. They do spend quite a bit of time preening their claws, just like a domestic cat, scraping it along the branches of a tree, or a dead branch. Now, a few of you might wonder how we identify these different animals. And, oh, he's falling asleep. Oh, sweetness. But I'll talk about how to identify him in a tiny bit. Now, Daisy is wondering, do they use mainly their claws or teeth to fight? They use both. And not only their front claws, their back claws. What they'll try to do is get a grip on their opponent with their teeth. Oh, there's some of those teeth. And then what they'll do is grip the opponent with their front paws and their teeth, and then they jump and they use their back claws to try gouge out their opponent's stomach. So it's quite a savage way of fighting, but it is incredible to watch. See how his ears are always on the move. Now, while he's sitting here, because I think he's going to get up and start moving and carrying on hunting soon, I just want to zoom in on his face. And we're going to see how to identify the different leopards. So each individual leopard, of course, all its spots are unique, but the easiest spot to identify is the last line of spots above his whiskers. And that is what we often refer to as a leopard's spot pattern. Now, he has got 5 on the right and 4 on the left. And just in case you're not 100% sure which line of spots I'm talking about, you can see his last line of whiskers, and just above them there's another set of spots, and that's the spots that don't have any whiskers coming out of them. And of course, often scars and other things like that help us to identify the different individuals, but scars change, scars heal, and being a male leopard fighting for territory constantly, he's always going to add a few new scars to his face. So we're going to sit here, and hopefully he is going to get moving shortly. And while we do that, Steph has got the scavenger that looks down from above.
So there's a vulture sitting in the tree just over there. Now, while one vulture is not too much to worry yourself about, vultures need to sit at night time as well, so they don't hang around in groups together when it's just one or two as a pair. But right here there's more than one vulture, and I absolutely think that there's something over here of note. So I don't know what we're going to find going forward over here, to be quite honest. It could be nothing. There could be a kill in front of us over here, which is quite exciting. But why don't you send through a guess as to what you think is going to be in here? Do you think that there's going to be an animal that we find dead over here, or do you think it's just going to be a roosting place for some more vultures? Use that hashtag safariLIVE, send through what your options are going to be, and let's see what it is as we go on. But let's sneak down the road. What you want to try and do is be very careful when you're approaching an area that has a potential predator in. And that's because if there is an animal lying here on some food, say lions or wild dog or leopard that has killed something that is lying here, they're going to want to protect their food. They're not going to want to give up their right to that food very easily, and in particular, not for a human like myself. So it becomes increasingly more of a concern the closer you get to where vultures are sitting in a tree. Now come sit here quickly. There's another vulture in the top of the tree there. So now we've absolutely, they're just flying away. There's one and another one. Is this one going to fly away? Don't quite know what's there. But anyway, get those answers through to that hashtag safariLIVE. We're going to carry on going through, and in the meantime, you're going to James in the tent.
Now, everybody, you've been watching as we've been trying to raise these caterpillars, but I have to tell you it hasn't been easy. I kept them in a very beautifully decorated pink box, but they didn't seem to be getting any bigger. But the more I looked at the ones in the wild, the bigger they seemed to be getting. So I thought to myself, well, let's try and keep some in the wild. But of course, we know that things like this hornbill, which unfortunately is now dead, will come through here and eat such caterpillars. Then I thought to myself, what would a farmer do in a situation like this? And I came up with a great plan. Behold, Tom Brady, the scarecrow. He is absolutely terrifying. Obviously, I named him today. He was going to be Matt or Tom, and he is now, well, it looked like he was going to be Matt for a long, long time, until, of course, that extra time win by the Patriots. And now Tom Brady will stand guard over our caterpillars for the rest of time. How appropriate. Now, let us perhaps just have a quick look at one of these caterpillars under the microscope, if you would like to. I've lost him now, David. Do you remember where he was?
He's around here somewhere.
He's around here somewhere. Oh, how awkward. All right, well, while I look for it, as I showed you here, of course, this is a predator, and we did have some prey around here. There's some prey over there, and this prey has, well, various spikes to ward off being eaten by predators, and so the predators don't always have it their own way. Take a look at how that plays out.
Life for many creatures of Africa is precarious. There is always something that wants to eat you. This young buffalo had a dreadful morning in the company of the Djuma Pride and Mfumo, the Birmingham male.
This is indeed the end for this buffalo calf. You can see the male now going in, grabbing it by the throat.
But once in a while, the underdog, or in this case, the under-lizard, fights back. The hungry young leopardess thought she was in for an early supper, but the indomitable rock monitor was having none of it, biting, hissing, and swinging his tail at the much larger predator.
See that? Did you see how it used its tail? They use it like a whip.
Sometimes defiance in the face of certain death is the only option.
You got very lucky.
When elephants are involved, there is no confusion about the wilderness hierarchy.
Look at that, isn't that amazing?
Elephants are renowned for being utterly intolerant of nature's killers, even though most predators pose them no threat at all. The war between buffalo and lion is ancient. It takes place every day in the African wilderness, and the outcome is never certain. The young bull is immensely powerful, and while his distress bellow may attract more predators, it can also bring in a giant grey rescue party. And lions, despite their fearsome reputation, know when to choose discretion as the better part of valor.
Back on the car, and he's on the move, and he's done exactly what we've predicted. He's heading down into these little dry riverbeds, and he's looking for antelope. As that temperature drops slightly, there he goes. Oh, he's on the hunt. He's now moved into slightly thicker bush, and the reason for that, being an ambush predator, it's going to give him more cover if he needs, or if he spots something that he needs to sneak up on. Brian wants to know, how long can a leopard go without eating? Brian, they can probably go nearly 2 weeks without food, but at that point it becomes very, very dire. They'll often go 4 or 5 days without eating, and if we had to average everything a male leopard eats over a month, because he can go, as I said, days without eating, he'll probably eat, on average, just around 15 pounds of meat per day. And of course, he can glut himself with up to 30 pounds of meat in a single sitting. Like most of the predators out here, they've got incredible digestive systems that work very quickly, just in case they lose their prey to another predator. So they try eat as much as possible and digest as much as possible. Now you can see he's using this little dry creek bed, and he's going very slowly. He's just making sure there's no potential prey up ahead. Now the wind's coming straight into his face. It's perfect for him, so he can probably smell if there's something up ahead as well. And he's going to keep stalking through this little ravine. We're going to stay with him. We're about to go into a little break, but he is on the hunt, and hopefully when you get back, he'll be stalking some form of antelope, and he's waited for you to catch it. Oh, hi everyone. Hi everyone everywhere else. Isn't this exciting? Mr. Tingana making an appearance, and he's now heading into some tricky country, as we'd call it, but he is using this little riverbed extremely well, and if there's an inyala or a bushbuck close to here, they're in for some trouble. Our last place we saw him disappear. Oh, there he is. He's right in front of us again. Now, I'm trying to keep my eyes up, making sure there's nothing ahead of us. He might go visit the area around James just now. He's still right in the base of this little river. Be cautious, doesn't want to be spotted by anything. He's very hungry. Probably hasn't eaten in 3 or 4 days. Okay, he's moving away from this little river system. I'm going to try to get around because I can't cross through it. Okay, while we do that, let's go see Mr. Henry, who's worried about being stalked by Mr. Tingana.
Sometimes Leo Smith talks an utter load of garbage. I'm not in the least bit worried about anything Tingana is stalking. I hope he catches something. He deserves it. He's the Prince Consort. And if Karula is indeed coming into heat, as we suspect she might be, he's going to need all the food he can get. So I hope you're enjoying that. Wonderful that he's finally decided to get up and do some performing. Brilliant stuff. Jamie, I think, has left Chitwadam. I'm just trying to see where she's going. She seems to be on to... Oh, she's going towards... Well, I suppose I can tell you. You don't need to be surprised by it. She's going towards a giraffe. Right, 1 minute of TV. We have in here, everybody... Well, you can be surprised by this one, but most of you will have seen one of these before, but this is a new one. It's so dangerous. It's so dangerous, David. I'm taking tremendous risks by showing it. I'm so brave. And I'm just going to quickly ask Kirsten to give me the order of what's going to happen. Welcome back. We're going black screen. Bye.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back, everybody, to your live safari from the western fringes of the great Kruger National Park. My name is James Hendry. Jamie's out there looking for things as we speak. She saw the leopards earlier. I think she's looking for something quite tall right now. Brent is still with Tingana, and Steph is on foot trying to avoid things like I've got here inside the skull. But I'm not going to tell you about that just yet. I am going to tell you that victory is mine. And not yours today. For the first time in our live safari series, I have won the game 2 Truths and 1 Lie. Well, I sort of came second. No, I did win. 20% of you said that the fact that there were 500 birds in the Kruger National Park was incorrect. That is indeed correct. There are more than 500 birds found in the Kruger National Park. 500 bird species, all of them magnificent. About 250 around this area where we are now commonly seen. Then 50% of you said that the Kruger National Park does not, in fact, contain the biggest population of wild dogs in Africa. You were wrong. I'm so sorry. That was, in fact, true. That was definitely very true, and you thought it was all wrong. Ha ha ha, 50% of you. Then, the last one, which I think is probably the most interesting one, 32% of you thought that it was incorrect that the Kruger National Park is the largest park in Africa. It isn't the largest park in Africa, so those 32% of you were absolutely correct. The biggest one is a place called the Selous in Tanzania, and you know it's 5 million hectares. That is 12 million acres. It's massive. It's more than double the size of the Kruger National Park, and of course none of those boundaries are actually fenced, so it just sort of bleeds out into community land and other wildlife land. It's a massive, massive area in Tanzania. Okay, let's have a look here. This is very dangerous. I'm taking an enormous risk showing this to you. This, everybody, is one of the most venomous spiders in Africa. It is a violin spider. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Steph may well have shown you one of these on one of his first walks, but this one is living inside the skull of a buffalo, and I suspect it's doing that because it's probably about to lay its eggs if it hasn't done so already. Just underneath it, it will carry the egg sometimes in a little pouch in its jaws, and I think I can just see the beginnings of that starting to happen. So over the course of the next 2 weeks after this, we'll have a look and just see how this violin spider is progressing. I'm obviously not taking any risk at all. They are not exactly what you would describe as aggressive creatures. And as I was saying last week about my friend the giraffe over here, at least this long-dead buffalo, Bertie was his name, is still making a contribution to the ecology of this area by providing a home for a violin spider. Let's head to the air to have a look for Brent. There he is, and there you can see him following the wonderful prince consort Tingana. Now, I think that Tingana is in two minds about whether he's hunting or marking territory. Often when a leopard is hunting, he does what he was doing when Brent, first found him. They walk through the bush, slinking underneath bushes and staying in cover. What you can see him doing here is walking along a very obvious path. The obvious path, of course, there's Leo Smith giving us a wave. That's typical. And he's marking his territory. You saw him spraying on that bush. Brent will currently now be inhaling the gentle scent of buttered popcorn. Yes, that's what I said. Buttered popcorn. It really does smell a little bit like going to a movie house when you go past a worry bush that a leopard has marked. So that's what he'll be smelling now. And let's go and find out from him if he feels like he's at the cinema.
The smell of buttered popcorn in the morning never reminds me of the cinema. I grew up in the African bush. It reminds me of leopards. And isn't it amazing? You've got to see what that vulture that Steph was with might see from the air as it flies around looking for something to scavenge. Now, he's moved into an ideal area to hunt. We've got these lovely thickets that run up to a larger riverbed, and although he's been walking down the road, now that's quite a common occurrence for leopards. Most of the roads here are built on old big game trails, and the leopards and lions like to utilize them quite heavily to move up and down, and so it's always a good place to leave your buttered popcorn scent, because and there's a very good chance that another leopard will walk down there. So it's in a nice obvious place where a female or potentially a rival male might get to take a whiff of Mr. Tingana's scent. So this is very exciting. Remember, we are 100% live. You are following this male leopard on his territorial march/hunt live from South Africa, and he's heading now down towards that little riverbed. I'm going to keep up with him. I'm just trying to minimize my impact on him. I'm not crashing through the bush. Hello, Button the Cockatoo. Button the Cockatoo would like to know, is the dewlap on male leopards, only found on male leopards? Indeed it is. Some older females might get a little bit of it, but it's there to protect them when they battle for territory. He's now found himself another big termite mound, and one of the reasons leopards do that is gives them a nice high vantage point to see potential prey coming, or to see potential threats like hyenas or lions or wild dogs. Now, we're going to move around, try to get a bit closer to him again. While we do that, we're going to go across to Jamie, who's got an animal who doesn't need a termite mound to get a bit of height.
Absolutely not. From a slightly shorter spotted creature to our really tall spotted creature, we have a lovely surprise for you in the form of this lovely lady giraffe. Now, for those of you that have just joined, my name is Jamie, and you are on a live safari, seeing some truly amazing things, from that leopard to the hippo that we were with earlier, and now a very special little creature. And you might be wondering, why am I saying little creature if we're looking at a massive giraffe? Well, just have a look to the right of her. There is a tiny little giraffe next to her. So she's got a baby. It's just over a month old, would be my guess. It started to nibble on leaves, so it might even be a little bit older than that. It might be closer to 3 months, but I don't think so. I think it's just nibbling leaves because it's trying out what Mom's doing. Isn't it adorable? Wait till you see it next to the mother. It is absolutely minute. We're going to try and shift a little bit closer to her in a second so that we can give you a better view of this baby giraffe. You can have a chance to see how tiny it is in comparison there. It's coming through in the background, just behind the bush. It's gone up to Mom again, affectionately rubbing up against her. Come, let's go. Let's try and go forward a bit. And then perhaps we'll have a chance to get a better view. But what I'm going to do is I'm just starting my vehicle and I'm letting the engine run for just a little bit, just so that they don't have the starting of the engine then all of a sudden movement as well combined with that noise. And in that way you can make sure that we don't have a major impact on these animals at all, and we don't scare them in any way. Important to remember that we live here in their home, not the other way around, and so we're always very, very careful about the impact that we have. So I'm watching her carefully, making sure that they feel comfortable. Yes, little one, hello, look at you. Aren't you absolutely adorable? Our baby giraffe are always so terribly disproportionate. Look at that. Oh, Zachary, you sent through your question. Oh, Mom, wait, Mom. Oh, wait, Mom, I've suddenly realized how far away Mom is. Wait for me. Don't leave me. Zachary, you want to know how much a baby giraffe weighs? Zachary, they're born at just under 200 pounds. And they will obviously continue to grow from there. The funny thing about giraffe being born is that they have a 2-meter drop. A 2-meter drop. The female does not lie down to give birth. She stays standing. And the little one faces its very first introduction to the world in the form of falling down all that way. So 2 meters, 6 feet. There goes Mom. Her baby's going to follow behind her soon. Here she is, standing still and statuesque. I don't want to move. I don't want to startle them in any way. Just wait and see. Baby's going to start making its way towards her. what are you looking out for? Our giraffe are one of our most fascinating creatures, and I find that they tend to start looking weirder the longer that they look. Now, they are an animal that perhaps doesn't receive as much. Here it comes. Mommy, wait for me, Mommy. There we go. Hello. Yes. It's one of the creatures that doesn't receive as much attention as, say, lions or elephants or rhino, but it is a creature that's facing what's been termed a silent extinction. Mark, you want to know why giraffe numbers are going down? The biggest reason, Mike, you want to know why it is that giraffe numbers are plummeting. The biggest answer is, of course, loss of habitat, as well as poaching for not just medicinal use, but for bushmeat as well. Especially in parts of Africa, sort of to the north of us, where there is civil unrest or social upheaval, you'll find that animals immediately become the victims as well as the human beings. So that's one of the big reasons. Fortunately for us in the reserve that we're in now, every animal that you see here is protected. These are probably among some of the safest animals in Africa. Everything out here is kept perfectly safe, or at least given the best possible protection from poaching. Here she goes, striding off, and it's not uncommon to find that the female giraffe actually get quite far away from their calves. It seems to be quite a comfortable distance. I'm going to stick with these giraffe to get a good view of that little one. But while we do that, it seems as though Steph has been doing some detective work.
We definitely are doing some detective work, and I must say thank you to Bonnie and Stephen, who have kept the hopes alive by guessing for the quiz whether we're going to find a roosting place where vultures just overnighted, or whether we're going to find a kill alive. Bonnie and Stephen, you said that we're going to find a kill, and you know, the closer we get to this particular area, the more I agree with you. There's a bunch of vultures that are sitting in a dead tree over there. Now, while it's quite common to have vultures sitting in trees in pairs and on their own where they rest for the night, definitely not when they're sitting that many vultures in the tree like that. So I'm holding thumbs that the closer we get there, the more information we start to find about what we're most likely to see. We've also been hearing elephant trumpeting almost the entire morning coming from this area, and that is indicative of elephant meeting up with a predator like a lion or a leopard or some wild dog. They quite often trumpet and go crazy really when they get to see them, and that's what I'm hoping to find over there. So all good really, to be quite honest with you. For those of you who have just joined us or don't know why all of a sudden you're with some bald ranger in the middle of the Kruger National Park, my name is Stefan Winterboer, and we are on foot in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in the Kruger National Park in South Africa, one of the last and the largest of the wilderness areas left in the world. And the whole morning we've been in this area looking for some African wild dog, looking for elephant, looking for lion. And I must be honest with you, we are looking forward to seeing what is going on over there. So we're going to make our way through there. You're off to Connor and the drone.
Right, here we are. We're going to take straight to the air. We've got a wonderful sight with Connor. There it is, everybody. Look at him circling there, a bird that I have yet to identify. And the bird is interacting with the drone now. Not in any way threatened, it's not flying away, they're just sort of circling each other. Look at it gaining height as it turns into the wind there. I'm afraid unless it turns around and looks a bit more closely at us, I don't think I'm going to be able to identify it. Oh, yeah, looks like, oh, is it a vulture or an eagle? It's one of the two. It's a vulture or an eagle. I think it's probably an eagle. I'm going to go with a tawny eagle, I suspect. A tawny or Wahlberg's eagles, those are the two most common brown eagles we get here. Oh, look at it fly. Isn't that just wonderful? It is a Wahlberg's eagle. I can tell that from the very narrow way that its tail closed as it turned to go with the wind. Is that not just fantastic, hung under those scudding gunmetal grey skies? That is beautiful. Right, we're going off for a short break. Don't go anywhere. Leopard's still on the hunt. Steph's still knocking about. Jamie's still with the giraffe. Come back soon. Whew. Are you all right, David? Yes, James. It's very tiring, the stuff. You know, we've been up since 10 to 4 this morning. And while I'm sitting here, I think it's best we look at that bird again. Let's go and look. I think it was a Wahlberg's eagle. I hate to think that I maybe told a lie. That's not the same bird. That's a batelier. It's definitely not the same bird. Is it? No, it's not. It's most certainly not. That is a batelier. Now, bateliers are very inquisitive about the drone. It's quite fun because, of course, they're scavengers. And, well, they've got a very Catholic diet, so they will scavenge. They'll also take things out of the air if they can. This is wonderful. This is just gorgeous. Right, we're going to set up now, everybody, our next sequence. How long have we got, Kirsten? 4.5 minutes. All right, let's just keep looking at this bird for the next 30 seconds. I could sit and watch a picture like this all day long. For me, watching birds fly like this, especially when it's silent, but for my yakking, of course, is the most peaceful thing you can do. And I had one of those wonderful experiences just the other day. It was during a rehearsal, and I was lying down in the grass waiting for David to faff with his cables and camera and earphones. I don't know what he was doing. And I can't tell you how high up, at least, it was a very small speck in the sky. A vulture came just gliding slowly over the top. And since I started out here, I remember the first time I had an experience like that, I've held on to that as a kind of jet, if you like, of peace. Can you have a jet of peace? It's like a jet of peace, the wash of peace through my body whenever I watch a vulture flying at that height. And the first time I saw it, I was actually on a game drive, and my girlfriend had just left, and so I was feeling very bereft and miserable. And I pretended that I had seen some tracks. We're going to go outside while you carry on watching that. I pretended that I had seen some tracks on the ground, and I went off on those tracks. And then I lay under a guarri bush while my guests were waiting on the vehicle for me, thinking I was finding them a lion. And I lay down under the ground, under this guarri bush, and I looked up into the sky. And that's the first time I noticed one of these vultures so high up. It was a tiny little speck. And I drew such tremendous comfort from it. Anyway, there's a little personal story for you while you wait for us to come back to TV. This is going to get awkward. Are we doing all right there, David? How much longer have I got, Kirsten, to get into this tree? 2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes to hang about in this tree. Now, what I'm trying to set up here, everybody, is a demonstration of how far it is a giraffe has to fall when it is born. I'm going to have to get up quite a lot higher than this. Oh, this is going to be awkward. Okay, there we are. All right. So basically, my feet are at the height from which the giraffe will fall. This giraffe bone is going to masquerade as a baby giraffe. And I'm going to hope fervently that in the next 2 minutes, this tree does not fall. I don't think I can use the microscope in this segment, Kirsten. Just the tree, if that's all right. No, not the tree and the microscope together. That will be too hard. Unless you want me to try. I can try and do that, Kirsten. There's a spider up here we could look at with the microscope. How much longer do I have to perch here? No, it's not 5 minutes. She's now talking rubbish. She says I have to sit here for 5 minutes. The TV's coming back in 5 minutes. This tree will not hold me for that length of time. 1 minute. Oh, gosh. It's the longest minute of my life. Is that all right, David? Is that better? You're not getting that dreadful thing known as the crotch shot, are you? Okay, good. Hashtag after 12. 40 seconds, 40. I hope nobody's too sad about the Patriots, at least about the Falcons. And thank you for being concerned about my safety. I don't want to fall either. Although, I mean, this is what it's like for a giraffe. Sherilyn, you say it's starting to bend. It certainly is starting to bend. The wind is starting to blow. The rarefied atmosphere up here is quite something. There are at least 3 species of spider that I've seen so far. 15 seconds, good grief. Okay, here we go. Welcome back everybody to your live safari from the northeast corner of the world's most magnificent country, that is of course South Africa. There might be some debate about it, but if you were living in South Africa, there would be no debate at all. My name is James Henry, you are on a live safari, and you can talk to us still for the next 20 minutes or so. Hashtag safariLIVE is the best and indeed only way to get hold of us on Twitter. Why am I sitting in a tree? Well, that's a very good question that you might pose, but what I'm doing is going to show you how far a giraffe baby has to fall. My foot here, small as it is, size 7, is 2 meters above the ground. That is about 6 feet. So, oh, there's a nyala behind me walking past. I can't, oh, look at that. I wonder if he's seen me. Hello. That's wonderful. That, of course, was not set up at all. Right, now, go away. I'm trying to tell a story. Thank you so much. Move along. Nothing to see here. Yes, good. Off we go. Now, this tree is starting to feel a bit ropey. So a giraffe baby has to fall from this distance here when it's born. Now, I think that's quite something. I'm not going to jump down from here. I'm going to climb gently down as I do that. I'm rather hoping that we'll go across to Jamie, who I think is on her way to the giraffe. So, in case I kill myself, let's head across to Jamie right now.
We definitely don't want James to go tumbling out of a tall tree. It wouldn't really be the first time he's done it either. Right, we've just gone all the way on a big loop around the waterhole to try and get another view of this gorgeous baby giraffe that we've been seeing. Hold on a moment, we're not quite there just yet. We just have to go around a few corners. I had to take the long way around to get a slightly better view. Hopefully, she hasn't disappeared. Oh, Dylan, you want to know? There she is, perfect. In the middle of the road. Let me go in quite quietly. Dylan, sorry. You want to know how giraffe evade fast predators? Dylan, they're faster than they look, giraffe. They have very, very long legs, which of course helps to create speed. Even though they look as though they're running slowly, they can still reach speeds of around about 50 miles per hour. Let's get a bit closer to her. So Dylan, they're not necessarily slow. They're also not defenseless. Large predators, the only thing really large enough to catch a giraffe is a lion. And giraffe are able to kick and to fight back. And they will also defend their little ones as well if a lion pride does attack them. There they are now. I can only see the adult at the moment. As I said, they sometimes separate from their calves. There she is. Stop here and just wait to see if baby comes to join her. I can't see any sign of her. Though there are cases of leopards actually killing leopards and lions that have attacked them just by the sheer power of their kicks. You can just imagine, this is a truly massive animal. You can imagine the strength that her legs would hold. Now, you see that bird sitting on the top of her head? It's doing the same job as the oxpeckers were last week. It is a red-billed oxpecker. Brent had them last week, cleaning away all of the ticks around from behind her ears and around her eyes, any exoparasites that she might have picked up whilst feeding off the leaves. Sometimes they're very handy, and sometimes they're a little bit of an irritant, especially when they're going around the sensitive skin around her ears and her eyes. You can see she's munching away. Oh no. She's hit that oxpecker on the head with her ear. I'm trying to see whether or not there's any sign of that tiny, tiny baby. But while we wait for it to return, Jeremy, you want to know how long does a baby giraffe stay with its mother? Oh no, don't disappear. Don't disappear, girl. And the answer to that is a good few months, probably around about a year and a half when they reach maturity. And sometimes they could stay even longer than that. So giraffe don't have a set herd structure, especially if it's a female. She might decide to stick around with her mum because it is safe for her to do so. You know, just a little bit of safety in numbers. But they don't have a set herd structure, so she could leave after 18 months. Male could also leave around that time as he starts to reach sexual maturity. That's about when they will start moving off on their own. So it's quite a long time spent with a parent when you compare it to things like antelope. And unfortunately, our view is relatively limited. She's hidden behind the trees. This baby is playing hard to get. Can you see it there, Viam? So far, our roof has been completely for nothing because it has not rained even a little bit. Is that the baby behind her there? Or is it a termite mound? Am I imagining things? No, look, its tail's moving. Underneath her belly. There we are. Hello, little one. They're such strangely disproportionate creatures, baby giraffe, even while we're just looking at its little tail. Their necks are proportionately much, much shorter than that of their counterparts, proportionately. So their legs are long enough so that they can keep up with mum when she runs, but their necks have to be quite short because they actually have to be able to bend down in order to suckle. Come on, little one, you're playing shy. Now, at the top of her head, the reason that I know that she's a female, apart, of course, from the fact that she has a baby, which is usually a dead giveaway, are a pair of horns with fur on top of them. And Emily Ann, you want to know what it is that giraffe use those horns for. They're actually technically ossicones, solid bone that sit on the top of their heads. Luckily for us, our giraffe is doing a really marvelous job of showing us what we're talking about by moving behind the tree. They use them for fighting. So in males, they are much, much thicker than the females. They don't have any hair on the top. And the males do something that's known as necking, which is swinging their heads backwards and forwards and whacking their opponent on the side. They also have more prominent bones around their skull so that they can hit them on the side, on the legs. That is the way in which giraffe fight. And it's one of the easiest ways to tell the difference between female and male giraffe. While we look at spots through trees, I'm sure you're all wondering what the outcome of Steph's investigation has been. Let's go and see what's happening where he is.
I'm actually convinced that there is a kill here somewhere, but I'm not convinced that it's still fresh. I think that it's actually finished. And the reason why I'm saying that is that all around this area, in almost every tree that can house a vulture, has housed a vulture, and as we've approached that tree, they've flown away. Now, vultures that are intent on food on the ground are fighting and squabbling at one another for food on their ground. If there was a predator in attendance on that particular prey item or on that particular piece of food, the vultures would still be in the tree, would fly away, but would circle back again when we approached. None of the vultures here have done that. We've literally been scouring this area for the last 45 minutes or so, trying to get closer and closer, visiting all these trees, seeing what's around. And I think that basically in conclusion to on it, I actually think that the meat is finished. It doesn't say that there's no lion or leopard lying around over here. In actual fact, it might even be a leopard kill in a tree somewhere where the vultures just particular show. It is just, I suppose it's the nature of live, really. It's the way that it goes. It just takes so much time to try and unravel this mystery that is the bush around us. We've literally been following clues, vulture tree to vulture tree, and using species of vulture to give us ideas. Vultures like the ones you're looking at the moment are the white-backed vultures. They like to eat the entrails of a carcass, and they quite often wait until the carcass has been opened by the larger vulture species. Now, Amy, you've asked me about how many vultures are found in the park. Wow, that is a difficult question for me to answer because I don't know the exact number of vultures. But what I can tell you though, Amy, is that vultures are on the endangered species list mainly because of the trade in their parts. People are catching vultures and selling their vultures selling their parts, feathers, eyes, heads, feet, are selling them on the traditional medicine markets all over the globe. One of the reasons for this, very similar to how tiger bone is used or lion bones are used. People believe that by taking the head of a vulture and powdering it and putting it in some tea or in a drink and drinking it will be able to allow you to see opportunities in the future. You know, I suppose there's, you know, what can I say? Just don't buy animal parts is all I can say, and there'll be more vultures in the park. All right. But I think what we're going to do is carry on snooping around over here. I'd love to show you what is going on over here, but I think that the vultures have finished this kill. In any case, well, you're off to Brent and Tingana.
Well, Mr. Tingana has not had a successful morning. Now, he's moved on top of another big termite mound, except this one is right near the edge of the river, and you can see it's really well wooded. And this is an excellent spot for him to wait out the day. Now, leopards will sleep for average 18 hours a day, and that's why we go out early in the morning and late in the afternoon when they're most likely to be moving. But he is an opportunist, so anything could happen at any second. And the reason he's chosen a spot like this, you can see there's lovely Timbuerti trees and some guarri thickets around here, is that he can lie on top and have a really good commanding view of the area around him. And this is an area where Inyala and Impala are likely to move through during the heat of the day. So he's having a snooze, but he's also hoping to get an easy meal. If something wanders close enough to his termite mound, the prince of predators will strike. And oh, look at those terrible biting flies on his ear. That's often why the big cats and other animals out here have such raggedy ears. Those are little stable flies, nasty little bloodsuckers that are biting him constantly. That's why his ears are always a flicker. Oh, and he's got a big grey tick attached to his one spot there as well. So it is, even though leopards look often beautifully clean, they are full of lots of little ectoparasites, biting flies, and are actually quite smelly. Now, I don't think Mr. Tingana is going to move a muscle, but it has been absolutely splendid spending a full 2-hour live safari with the magnificent male leopard. And from the Killer Bees, Brian and Brent, and the hard-working Thumb, we'll see you 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Nat Geo Wild next week. Let's go across to the highly entertaining, highly amusing James Henry in his bush office.
I'm on the edge of glory, and I'm standing. Simon, we're live. Simon really enjoyed Lady Gaga's performance today at the halftime show. He's got over the fact that his beloved Atlanta Falcons lost. They lost. Sorry about that, Simon. Good. Now, we're about to close down, but before we do that, I did, of course, promise you a while back that we would watch the progress of our tadpoles, and this is an appropriate time for me to tell you about what you're going to be watching next. Ooh, let me just try and kill the light a bit. There, we'll give a little bit of light. There he is. What you're going to be watching next is something called giant sea serpent, and it's about the oarfish that live off the coast of the French Riviera. The French Riviera, no less. Anyway, you can see there that this tadpole has now got his back legs, and that means he should start to progress fairly quickly from here. Now, the giant oarfish was the fish that gave rise to the legend of the sea serpent, and so that's what you're going to learn about next. Don't go anywhere. I think it sounds absolutely fascinating. It lives in the abyss off the French Riviera. What it's doing off the French Riviera, I don't know. We think it has something to do with the fact that it's probably quite a nice place to shoot a film because they actually live all over the world. We're just going to quickly show you now where all of the tadpoles live. Now, they don't live in here permanently. I know that's not a very salubrious neighborhood, but that's where they live while they are live. Then they go into a much bigger tank, which we'll show you in the last show a little bit later. Right, we're going to take to the air now for the last 30 seconds. There is summer Africa, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's been a wonderful time here with the leopards and everything that we had. We didn't find the wild dogs, hopefully next week. We will be seeing you, of course, same time, same place. That's 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday evenings on Nat Geo Wild. So that will be when we will see you next. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for taking part in all our quizzes. And I hope that you stay safe and happy wherever you happen to be in the world. Bye-bye.